You don't deserve fancy things. My mother-in-law who lives with me threw away all my clothes, cosmetics, bags, shoes, and all kinds of accessories. As I stood aghast, looking at the empty closet, she continued, You married into my family, correct? And yet you still rebel in those flashy clothes? How many times have I told you to dress more modestly? You need to be punished. Stay in your underwear today. Hurry up and take your clothes off. Then get on your knees. I had no choice but to take off my clothes and kneel on the floor in my underwear to avoid irritating her, who was yelling at me with a bright red face. The flooring was horribly cold and made me shiver. When I was about to apologize to her, I'm home. What? My father-in-law Ken, who had been out, returned at an unexpected time. Witnessing the bizarre scene, he sniffed. Rachel, why are you almost naked? Because I don't deserve clothes. What the hell? He slowly turned with trembling shoulders to my mother-in-law and shouted, My name is Rachel. I'm a 35-year-old housewife. My husband Josh and I live in a rented apartment in a suburb. I met him through a mutual friend 5 years ago, and we started dating. We broke up once, but got back together and finally married last year. He's 2 years older than me and has a job that requires him to travel often. He's sometimes away from home for half of the month. I was planning to keep my job after the marriage, but he strongly desired me to be a stay-at-home wife. I love fashion and beauty as I worked in the apparel business before. I still enjoy them even after I quit working. My hobby is to research and come up with a style according to my age. Fashion excites me. It brightens my mood and gives me confidence in myself. Josh used to compliment me on my style before we got married. If I wore new outfits, he noticed right away. If I changed my hairstyle, he flattered me. I loved him for being sensitive and kind. His parents were also very nice to me. We lived in the same neighborhood and sometimes had dinner or enjoyed trips together. They were considerate not to bother us, the newlyweds, and kept a just about right distance from us. I got married later than my friends, but I was content with the family I married into. One day, both of my in-laws got sick at the same time. They said it was just a cold, but I was worried that something unforeseen may have happened, as they were over 70 years of age. I wasn't the only one, but so was Josh. After our discussion, I went back and forth between my place and theirs to take care of them until they were better. I'm very sorry for your trouble. It must be tiring that you got your own things to do at home beside our care. Thank you for bringing us such a delicious-looking dinner. Please don't mention it. Josh and I want you guys to get better soon. It's not troublesome at all. I was being honest, as the house was only 10 minutes by walk, and I just prepared a little more food together with my dinner anyway. You're so kind and dependable. It'll be perfect if you and Josh could move in with us. He mentioned as if he was talking to himself. Then Judy scolded him. Hush, don't say such a thing. She and Josh just got married. Of course they want to live alone. Right, Rachel? When Judy put me in the spot, I smiled vaguely and let it slide. I wasn't comfortable affirming it boldly, but it wasn't like I detested the idea. I didn't have my own parents. They passed away after another when I was small. I was raised by my maternal grandparents, so I had a kind of longing for parents. Because my chance to take care of my own was stolen, I had the desire to do so with my in-laws. If living together was going to give them peace of mind, why not? When Josh came back that night, I brought up the idea of moving in with his parents. He was more on board than I had imagined. I totally agree with you. They are getting old, so I feel better to know you are with them. Also, I've been worried about leaving you alone while I'm away. If the three of you are together, all my worries are gone. The day after we discussed, preparations began for us to move. When we told the in-laws this, they rejoiced. They set up our bedroom in no time and made the house ready to welcome us anytime. We planned to move in with them when our lease was up in a month. The month flew by as I packed and I went around to say goodbyes to my close neighbors. Welcome, Rachel and Josh. We are so happy to finally have you guys here. On the day of our move, Josh and I were greeted by their cheerful smiles. Thank you, Judy and Ken. I'll be glad to help you with chores, grocery shopping, and whatever you need. As soon as I said it, Josh said, and I'll work hard for you guys. Then continuing as he remembered, oh, by the way, I have to go on a business trip the day after. It's for 3 weeks, a bit longer this time. Take care of Rachel, Mom. We decided to celebrate the first day of living together with pizzas and wine. The day ended full of joy. A couple of days later, Josh left for a 3-week business trip. Normally, I felt lonely being left alone, but not from this time on. My in-laws were with me. I immediately decided to be useful and enthusiastically started my chores. I ran the washing machine for starters and vacuumed. Then Judy, who had been out, came home. Ken was in his room reading a book. Hi Judy, how are you? After I finish with the laundry, I'll make some lunch. What would you like to have? As I asked her, she looked around the room. Then she opened her mouth. Rachel, you have to clean better than this. You're a housewife, so there's no excuse for cutting corners. If you can't do better, you're a failure. I was stunned by her harsh tone, which I had never heard before, that I couldn't say anything. She gave me a side eye and started watching TV on the sofa. After that, her behavior changed completely. She monitored how I cooked and cleaned, and gave me detailed criticism, and began to lecture her own theory of what a wife is. Her generous and gentle personality turned tense and scary. I thought I had somehow offended her, but when Ken was around, she went back to being sweet as before. Observing the way she was, she seemed to choose places and situations to change her behavior. I suspected bullying then. My suspicion was confirmed by an incident. One morning, when I got up and opened my closet to dress up, I noticed a few of my favorite dresses were missing. In addition, a bunch of makeup that I always used was gone. I always put it in the same place, and I didn't remember taking it anywhere else. When I asked Judy if she had moved them, she gave me a surprising answer. Hey Judy, have you seen my dresses and makeup? They were gone when I woke up. Oh yes, I threw them all away. And by the way, I sold some accessories. I only got a couple of bucks for them though. Do you have any problem? Why did you do that without asking me? She shook her head and gave me a cold stare. You know, you're just a housewife in this house. A housewife has no business caring about fashion. You're not allowed to wear those flashy clothes. Dress more modestly, got it? She snapped at me and then, if you understood, go prepare breakfast now. She ordered and walked out of the room. Those were my favorite dresses that I bought after saving my paycheck when I was single. If they were already thrown away, never mind. I couldn't get over it easily, but I must live with her for a long time. I was going to pretend to be submissive in the presence of her eyes. I changed into the plainest shirt and jeans I had on hand and headed to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. Judy nodded in approval at the sight of me. From that day, she began to rub me the wrong way even more. I was asked to do various things in addition to my daily chores, such as weeding the garden, washing the car, and accompanying her for shopping. I sure wanted to be helpful, but not if she was giving me a hard time. I was annoyed, so I pretended to obey her, but used my savings to buy cosmetics and clothes from my favorite brand, knowing that if they were found, she would throw them away again. I put them in a box, which was placed under bed. It had been 3 weeks since Josh left. He was finally coming back that night. I thought to pick him up at the station and go for dinner. I asked Judy for permission. Is it okay if Josh and I went out for dinner tonight? I'll sure prepare something for you before I go. That's a good idea. You should go. You don't need to make anything for me. It'll be nice to have something other than you cooking once in a while. I thought there was a little sarcasm mixed in, but permission was granted anyway. Excited, I prepared to go out in the hustle. It had been a long time since we had a date night. The new dress I just bought was great for the occasion. I was all fired up and dressed up perfectly, and then snuck out of the house without being seen by Judy. Ken seemed to be out as I hadn't heard his voice. He was probably going to eat outside, so I didn't have to worry about his dinner. I was thrilled and headed for the station where Josh was getting off. I waited for his return in front of the exit gate where many people came and went. It kind of reminded me of the nervousness of the first date. Then, after 10 minutes of waiting, I saw Josh among the crowd. I waved my arms to let him know I was there. He noticed and came running up to me. I was thrilled to hear him compliment me on my new clothes like he used to do. Hi honey, how was your trip? What would you like to have for dinner? As I was asking, his face frowned. He looked like he was upset. What on earth are you wearing? I bought it recently. Isn't it nice? When I pointed to my dress, his face turned red as he yelled at me. I'm asking why you are dressed up like that. Didn't my mom warn you? Wear simple and modest outfits. She told me I was just a housewife, so act like one. You know, getting dressed up is one of my few hobbies, and I don't dress particularly flashy. I'm wearing what's within the boundary. There's no need to be so uptight about it. Besides, you like the way I dress, don't you? He raised his voice louder to my objection. What my mom told you is what I agree with. If she tells you to dress a certain way, it's the same as if I told you. Why don't you get it? I finally realized then. Judy threw away my clothes on his instruction. I still didn't understand what his intentions were, but I understood why she suddenly became so demanding. I don't get it. You always complimented how I dressed before we got married. He sighed in exasperation. That was before. We are married now, and you are my wife. It's a different story. You married into my family, so I need you to look and act accordingly. It was too late to tell me that. When I was at a loss to say anything, he grabbed my arm. Anyway, let's go home now. We need to talk about how a wife should be. I could not make a fuss in the public, so I decided to follow him quietly. The word divorce crossed my mind for a second, but it wasn't realistic. I didn't have a job, and the savings I had would have been only enough for moving. I just had to be patient. Josh and I drove home in silence. When we opened the front door, we ran into Judy, who was just in the living room. She was holding a large clear blue garbage bag in her hand. I looked hard at it and realized it was full of my clothes, makeup, bags, shoes, and other accessories. I ran into my closet, which was empty. Nothing was left in it without exaggeration. Plus, the new clothes I had hidden away were gone. My shoes had disappeared completely from my shoe rack. I can't be too careful around you. This is a punishment for rebellion. If you can't obey us, just wear your underwear. This is way out of the line. It is not acceptable. I forcibly snatched the garbage bag from her hand. Josh grimaced at me in his rage. Hey, don't be rough with her. Whose money are you living off of? If you still resist, I'll throw you out. That being said, I had no words to retort. It was true that he took care of me. When I couldn't refute the fact, Judy got carried away. Take all your clothes off and get on your knees. If you apologize, we'll be easy on you this time. I couldn't make a living if I got kicked out, so I reluctantly took my clothes off and got on my knees. The flooring felt cold against my skin. When I was about to apologize, Ken happened to come home. Judy blurted, "You're already back?" in a funny high-pitched voice. She thought he was coming back at around midnight. He froze for a moment at the bizarre situation and then asked, "Rachel, why are you almost naked?" "Because I don't deserve clothes." I didn't know what else to say. He mumbled, "What?" in confusion. "You know, she's my wife. She needs to learn her position. For that, those fancy clothes are a nuisance." He's right. This is necessary for her to learn. You tell her too. Ken groaned loudly and covered me with the jacket he was wearing. Then he pulled me up by hand and stood on his ground, shielding me from Judy and Josh. What the hell are you guys thinking? A position of wife? This is no other than abuse. I'm fed up with you guys. I want a divorce. You too, Josh. Never come to this house again. Understood? Both Judy and Josh thought that he would be on their side, so both of them were stunned with their eyes wide open. Why divorce? No way. I don't know how to live if you divorce me. I'm very sorry. I won't do it again, so please forgive me. Dad, do you mean you want to disown me? Please don't. I'll apologize, okay? If you kick me out, I have to find a place and start paying rent again. Both of them pleaded with Ken. He rolled his eyes in disgust. He scolded them that they were apologizing to the wrong person and looked at me. Then Judy and Josh got on their knees and apologized to me. Of course I can't forgive you guys. Even if I divorced and can't make a proper living by myself, it's 100 times better than living with you. They both lamented. Oh no. I was able to file for divorce afterward, with the help of Ken's financial support as his apology. It wasn't his fault, so I declined his offer at first, but decided to accept it after he insisted adamantly. He and Judy also filed for divorce as declared, and the house was put up for sale. He said he would use the money to move to a more rural area and live at his leisure. Judy was left penniless. She was planning to live with Josh, but Ken didn't allow it. He thought if those two stayed together, they conspired to do harmful acts. Judy turned to her relatives, but the rumor of her abusive behavior was spread among them. They were disgusted with her, and she was left alone. She currently works as a daily worker and is living by day in a small apartment. It must be unbearable for her now, as she had been living a comfortable life. As for Josh, who was disowned by Ken, actively looked for a new wife. In order to get an ideal wife this time, he went around preaching how a wife should dress to all the women he met from the beginning. As a result, all had turned him down. No surprise. He now leads a lonely life, only going back and forth between work and home. In this day and age, no woman will ever match his ideals. I wonder when he would realize that. I moved far away with the money I received from Ken. Although there were several years of gap, I managed to find the same kind of job I used to do. I have a modest but fulfilled life. How happy I am to dress the way I like with the money I earn. I will live freely without letting others dictate my life from now on. I vowed to myself